Hey there, Tad Hargrave from Marketing for Hippies. Want to talk about niching, and this is something I can't believe, actually, looking back over my videos, I've never done a video about this. I've written about it in one blog post, and I'll put the link to that below. There's a whole ebook that I may write, and I'm probably going to do some day-long kind of sessions on this online coming up soon. So you can check the events page on my website to see if that's happening at the time you're watching this video. A lot of people struggle with niche, and this is particularly for the healers in the house. If you're a healer, a life coach, holistic practitioner, somewhere in that vein, this will be very particularly useful to you. And peripherally, it might be useful for others, but I can't guarantee as much. Probably more for service providers and product makers. But again, you'll see. And this is the one thing that I go for. If people are really, if they come to me and they're a healer, holistic practitioner, a life coach, that type, and they're really struggling with their niche, their target market, who to reach, then this is the, I have a limited time, this is the thing I go for, and it cracks the nut 80% of the time. Okay, so here's the idea. I got this from Jeffrey Van Dyke, a colleague of mine. And actually, before I go into it, pause for suspense. If you like this video, please share it. Don't assume other people share these things. If you liked it, you want to see it spread in the world, please do share it. You can watch, or you can subscribe. There's a red button on YouTube. You can click on that. A little bell icon comes up, click that, and then you'll get notified when I post new videos. You can follow me on Facebook. I've got a page there. And then if you go to marketingforhippies.com, there's an email list you can sign up for as well. So, okay, here's the idea. I got this from Jeffrey Van Dyke. Your deepest wounds are often a doorway to your truest niche. The places that you personally have been hurt the most and then wounded and overcome those things, that's probably the most reliable target market niche that you have. When you're trying to think about who to reach, this question, who was I years ago, a few years ago, what did I have to struggle to overcome? So I'll tell you my story. I, right out of high school, worked for a leadership development company, and I learned a lot. There were some really good things, marketing and sales wise, but some of the stuff I learned felt really good, and some of it didn't feel good. And it took me a decade to figure it out, but I did this sales stuff, and I had friends tell me, "Dad, you seem so plastic and fake." And part of it was probably what I was learning. Part of it was I was 18 at the time, so just doing my best. And anyways, I had to really wrestle with this, that I was being fake and plastic and pushy and manipulative and all these things that I don't want to be. And I was getting that feedback from time to time, and it just felt so awful. And Marketing for Hippies was birthed out of that, was birthed out of my wrestling and struggling with, but people still have to market, you still have to get clients. So how do you do that in a way that feels good? It wasn't that articulate back then. It was just this, wrestling, but that turned into my business. And I could name business after business where people, think Byron Katie, she struggled with depression for 7 years. And then this amazing work came out of it. Terry Walls, Dr. Terry Walls, had multiple sclerosis, cured herself with diet and lifestyle changes. And she created a book called The Walls Protocol. I mean, most books in the personal growth scene, you'll find this kind of a story. And I could go through my whole bookshelf, and probably find things like this. So this is something to really ask yourself. Where have you struggled the most that you've overcome? Not just that you're still struggling, because just walking around being hopeless and authentic about that is not a great way to get clients. But what's something that was hard for you and now isn't hard? Where's a place you were hurt, but then you got some healing? The beauty of this, first of all, is in order to get the healing, you had to learn some things. And this is where your point of view can come from. You have a story now that you can share that will build you immediate credibility. Because you were in the experience, you went through it yourself. Writing sales copy is going to be very easy for you because you can just write about your experience. This isn't abstract. You don't need to do the market research. Your life was the market research. So if you're stuck with who you're trying to reach and you're reaching for abstract target markets, come back to your own story. There's a woman I did a puttering session with years ago, or maybe 1 year ago, and she lived in New Jersey, I believe, and she had a practice doing Ayurvedic nutrition. And her target markets that she brought to the call were just useless, basically. It was, well, female entrepreneurs and all, but I couldn't see the connection. Well, Ayurvedic nutrition I get, female entrepreneurs I get, but there was no kind of issue it was helping them with, and she was really struggling with it. And finally, I asked her the question I should have asked her in the beginning, and I said, what got you started with this? And she said, oh, I had fibromyalgia, very bad, like I ruined my life, I couldn't do anything. I said, well, have you thought about doing Ayurvedic nutrition for people with fibromyalgia? And she never had. So consider that for yourself. What got you into this work? What was it that hurt so bad that you wanted to learn? There may not be anything. That's possible. It's not always, a bad thing or a wound. Maybe also it was something bad you saw in the world, other people being hurt, and this is what's driven you. But the fact that you might feel called to offer something, or that you see something missing in the world that isn't there, that's almost certainly connected to your story, because other people don't notice it's missing, and if they do, they don't care, but you care. Why? Probably because you went through it yourself. And by the way, there's lots to say here. You don't have to be perfect in your healing of the thing. You just have to be further ahead than the people you're helping. Enough steps ahead that you can actually be useful to them. That's all. And then you'll continue to heal and grow, and you'll look back 20 years later and say, God, I can't believe I started that so young. That's probably part of the story too. So there you go. Your deepest wounds are often a doorway to your truest niche. So I'll probably be doing some more work on this moving ahead. I could give story after story after story after story on this. I'll give maybe one more. We'll end on the mythical note. This the myth of Chiron, and Chiron was an immortal, the Greek pantheon, and he was wrestling with Hercules, but someone, I'm giving the very truncated version of the story, basically somebody had slipped a poisonous arrow in the quill, and through the rough housing and playing with each other, being immortals, you can be pretty rough, he's struck by this arrow. Now, because he's a god, and he's immortal, he can't die, but the poison would kill anyone else, and so he can't recover. So he's trapped in the suffering, and he retreats into a cave, and eventually he starts studying plants, trying to figure out if he can heal himself, and he never really heals himself. But through his work, the whole field of herbology comes, and medicine comes, because of his work to heal himself with plants. Sometimes it's like this. Sometimes we don't get the full healing, but through our attempts to heal ourselves, we now have something to offer the world. It's something like that. So that's all. Okay, we'll leave it there. If you have any questions or comments or reflections, please put them below. If you want to be in the advanced notice list for this kind of program, you can email me, tad@marketingforhippies.com, and I'll keep you posted when we do that. That's all. Thanks so much.